Hi everybody, welcome back. Tony again with Shinsho Yoga. And this week I would like to talk to you about Zen and what is Zen. The reason being that being in the industry that I'm in, being a yoga teacher and in this somewhat new age slash spiritual world, there are certain words that people have used over time that have become part of our culture that have lost their meaning. And there's a lot of time people refer and say things to me as a teacher, things like, this is my Zen place, or I'm doing this for my Zen, and they really misunderstand the meaning of the word. And what that ends up doing is dumbing down what the actual practice is, because it takes away from what Zen actually means, like it would for anything else. So for those of you who have an interest in that, I wanted to offer some clarity on that for today. How am I an expert? I'm not an expert at anything. I'm just me, but I am a lay-ordained Zen Buddhist. This is what is called a rakusu, right? This is a representation of the Buddha's robes. This is what you sew when you are going through the process of Jukai. Jukai is the acceptance of the Bodhisattva path, the way of the Buddha, right? And when you have gone through this process, your teacher gives you a Dharma name. Mine is Shinsho Kaisei, hence where Shinsho Yoga comes from. And the name means, Shinsho means sincere voice, and Kaisei meaning ocean vow, right? So sincere voice, ocean vow. And what this translates to is a lay-ordained Zen Buddhist, meaning that if I was in a monastery, this is the process that you would go through to become a monastic, to become a monk. But out in the world where I am, it's the process you go through to walk this walk, live this life, and offer to others, as I do here through these videos and such, that way. So I have some experience in it, and I would like to share that with others so they have an understanding. The term Zen, right? Zen is a style of Buddhism, right? And I have another video on Buddhism, so I'm not going to get deep into Buddhism, but Zen is Japanese Buddhism, right? And it comes from the word Chan, right? Which is a Chinese word for Buddhism. So as Buddhism traveled from India to China and then to Japan, it went from calling Buddhism to Chan to Zen, right? And it got mixed with the cultures as it moved. And it originally comes from the Sanskrit word dhyana, right? So the Sanskrit word dhyana for meditation, that's what the word is. When it came to China, they applied their own language to it and became Chan, right? Meaning the same thing. And then as it moved to Japan, it became Zen. Zen is a unique form of Buddhism in that Zen does not concern itself with the studies of sutra and the study of Buddhism. Buddhism is a very heady philosophy. It's not a religion. In Buddhism, we don't talk about God. In Buddhism, you find God on your own. In Buddhism, we help you, or you help yourself to find yourself, right? And then from there, whatever you need to discover, once you can see yourself clearly, you'll be able to see. So we're not going to help you find God. You'll find God yourself, whatever face of God speaks to you. Buddhism here is to help you find you and understand who you are and be happy with who you are and love who you are so you can extend that to others, right? But there is a lot, depending on the lineage of Buddhism, there is a lot of people and lots of groups that love to study and get into thought. And if you go online, of course, argue about it. Right? But in Zen, that is not our goal. Right? Our goal in Zen is to meditate. We emphasize practice, right? Practice over everything else. There's two things in Zen that you do, and there's different styles of Zen. The two major styles that came out of Japan are Soto and Rinzai. I am ordained under the Soto sect. It really doesn't matter. It's just different ways they approach it, just as you would in Judeo-Christian ways. If you looked at someone who, say, is Baptist or Lutheran or Presbyterian or Catholic, there are different ways they approach it. But we emphasize in Zen practice. In Zen, all you do is you meditate and you work with a teacher. There's no study, although your teacher will teach you about things, and you're more than welcome to study and read about things, but that's not a requirement. The requirement, first and foremost, is meditation. right? And the meditation in Zen is a formal, disciplined practice. Know that it's a formal, disciplined practice. It is not just, well, I went to the beach today and, well, I did my Zen because I went for a walk and I saw birds and I saw, although if you are doing it with with mindfulness, it can be a meditation, but just going isn't, right? In Zen, you have to have a formal, disciplined practice, and there is a reason for this, right? In Zen, we have two practices that we do: Zazen, seated meditation, and Kinhin, walking meditation. And these are formal, disciplined practice. They're not just done willy-nilly. The way you see me sit here on these cushions in these videos is a posture called Seisa, right? This is one of the meditative postures. This is a traditional Japanese seated posture with the legs tucked underneath you. This cushion's a little short for me. My cushion that I use at my altar on my cushions was called Zafu and Zabuton, right? This is called a Zafu, right? It's taller than this. I just use this for this setup. But you have this legs underneath you, this upright posture, right? Where you take your hands down, and if you sit Burmese or Lotus, there's different ways, and there's ways to do it in a chair. But you'll take your hands in what's called the Cosmic Mudra, right? Right hand, left hand, palms facing up, thumbs lightly touch. We lower our eyes. And in Soto, we face the wall generally when we sit, and we breathe and we follow our breath. And as our thoughts arise, we acknowledge them, we allow them to pass by, and we return to the breath over and over and over and over, right? Just as I say to do in my classes, just as I say to do at the end of each one of my videos, right? I incorporate that into the practice because yoga and Buddhism are interconnected, right? They're one and the same, for lack of a better way to put it. When we do our walking meditation, Kinhin, it's a similar thing where we're breathing and letting the thoughts go by, but we do this very stylized step with the breath, right? These practices are designed to give you a space to practice exactly that breathing, that letting go by, to give you a way to do that without other distractions. And the goal of the practice is the practice, right? That's the thing in Zen too. It's not a thing of, okay, you're doing this, have you reached enlightenment yet? Have you become an expert at sitting? No. The effort is what matters. The consistent practice, that always coming back to that breath, always coming back to our seat, always coming back to that stillness, coming back to that mindfulness, right? So Zen is a very simple practice, but it's also a very challenging practice. None of this is easy to do, right? And there may be times it's easier than others, and other times it's really hard. Sometimes in my practice, I found it very easy to be consistent and sit, and I'm like, this is great. And other times I'm like, I don't want to sit. It's part of the practice, right? But in short, that's what Zen is this formal, disciplined practice. It is not just, well, I went somewhere that's relaxing. We don't meditate in Zen to relax. There's nothing about it that is focused on relaxation. There's nothing about it that is focused on, oh, we're calming ourselves down, right? We're making ourselves happy. None of that in Zen. There's no focus on being happy or calm or this. These are all side effects. These are all products of the process. What we focus on is our breath and that meditation and the process. Everything else that happens in the practice comes from that process. But it is not where we're going to go, I need to be more calm, so I need to go and meditate. Well, that's great to meditate, but that's not the goal of it. You meditate for the sake of meditation, for the process. And if you do it with that purity in mind, all of those other things will come as a product of the process. But once you take your focus off that and say, well, I'm doing it because I need to be more, less angry, or I need to be more calm, or I need to be more relaxed, it takes you off of that. So Zen, right, is a very formal, disciplined practice that is designed to just be done. So the goal of Zen is the practice of Zen. This is very different than our Western lifestyles. For those of us here in the United States, such as I am, it's always for achievement, right? It's always we're going to get somewhere with this. We're going to be this. We're going to be that. Oh, you're meditating. You want to be enlightened. It's a different approach to things, about enjoying the process, that life is not about achievement per se. And I'm not saying we don't put in an honest effort in what we do and we don't look to improve ourselves. We do all these things, right? But the practice of Zen is the process, is to do these meditations, right? Not worrying, am I enlightened? Am I doing it? You put in an honest intention and you breathe and you follow your breath. And what this does over time is it cuts a groove in your life, as my teacher says. And it starts to change the track you're on. So we're always on this same track, what I call the merry-go-round, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. This practice of this breath work, what it does for you, this seated posture, this formal disciplined practice, will give you pause. Right? So when you're dealing with a situation and you feel those emotions and the feelings all rise up, we let them pass by. And we proverbially take a step back and go, been down that path before. Not going to do that again. I think I'll stay here. Or I'll go this way. Or I'll go that way. But I'm not going down that way again. Right? This is what it does, but we don't focus on that. All we do is breathe, we follow our breath, and we practice. And all of those things will come from that honest intention in that practice. Right? So as simply as I can put it, that's what Zen is. What Zen isn't, though, is something to be hung on the wall of someone's house that's, their favorite room, their Zen den, or something like that. And look, I understand they're fun words and this and that, but if you really have an interest in it, know what it is. And if you say to people, and I've had people say this to me, that's why I do it, because of all the meditation workshops I've done, I've had someone say to me, I say to them, after they've done the workshop, like, I really appreciate what you did. I said, have you been practicing? They say, well, my Zen, my meditations, I like to go to the beach. I like to go to the beach too. That doesn't necessarily mean it's Zen. And from what you're telling me, you're not doing it mindfully, so it's not Zen, right? Because anything can be a meditation if you do it mindfully. But that's why you have the disciplined practices to teach you how to do things mindfully, right? So Zen is not about being relaxed. Zen is not about, I've, done something, I feel good today. I've done Zen. No. Zen is a very specific practice that's formal and disciplined and is designed to help you really become you. You face yourself in Zen, you deal with yourself in Zen, right? And then once you've faced yourself and you've dealt with yourself and you're happy with yourself and you can sit by yourself, then you can deal with others just as well. If you'd like some more information on it, right, there's some books I could recommend. The first book I would recommend is a book called The Miracle of Mindfulness by Thich Nhat Hanh. Now, he is not a Zen Buddhist. He is a Vietnamese Buddhist. This does, again, in the different levels of Buddhism, he is under what's called Mahayana Buddhism, which is where Zen is. It's under that great big umbrella. But he does not teach Soto-specific or Rinzai-specific ways, but it doesn't matter because truth is truth. What he's teaching you in here is across the board and the most simple. This is where I started, The Miracle of Mindfulness. It's a favorite book of mine. Right? If you want to know more about Zen, the book to get is called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Suzuki Roshi. Suzuki Roshi is the one who brought Zen to the West in the 1960s. You have two schools of Zen that came to America in the 1960s, the Rinzai and the Soto school. The Soto school came over in the 60s with Suzuki Roshi from Japan, and the Rinzai school came over with Maizumi Roshi from Japan, and they two separate Zen centers in California. This is Tassajara Zen Mountain Center, which is what Suzuki Roshi started, and ZCLA, or Zen Center Los Angeles, is what Maizumi Roshi started. None of that you really need to know. This book, though, if you don't know anything about Zen, is not going to be easy. Right? I don't necessarily recommend this to you for someone who's starting out. This, once you've sat with a group for a while and know what Zen is and worked with a teacher, then I would recommend this. This is an informal talk on Zen, and unless you have experience to understand what he's referring to, it's going to be a little too much. So if you have an interest in Zen, I would suggest finding a local Sangha. A Sangha is a Buddhist group. Find a local Sangha, right? If you're in New Jersey, you could look up the Monmouth Zen Circle. That's who I took my vows with. But anywhere you do, look up for a local Buddhist Sangha, Zen Sangha, right? Whether it's Rinzai or Soto or they mix it up, it really doesn't matter. And go learn to sit, and just go sit and start working with the teacher. Just do that. Don't worry about how well you do. Don't worry about if you're the best at it or anything like that. Just put in an honest intention and practice. And in my opinion, it changed your life. I mean, it changed mine. I'm committed to this way. That's why I teach what I teach. So, Zen, a lot more simple than what people make it out to be, but much deeper than probably most feel it is, for lack of a better way to put it. And in the end, don't worry about it too much. Just breathe and follow your breath. And as your thoughts arise, acknowledge them, allow them to pass by, and return to the breath. Namaste.